Hey guys, I'm so sorry that I'm late. I finally figured out how to announce my streams. So, yay! Crap, I have a drop frame. I'm late because of my kids. You can probably still hear Jurassic World in the background upstairs. So anyway, I'm sorry. I had no idea there would be people waiting. Hey Bruno. Hey Dave. Hey girl. Hey Canada. Trying to stay awake. I'm sorry. Joey. Dark Omen. Golden Sheep. Good morning. Grim. Good morning. So I hope the background noise isn't too much because I hear the TV blaring. My kids are terrorists, for lack of a better word. But anyway, so I finally figured out how to get it to like pre-schedule. So that's a good thing. But since I've kept you guys waiting, I apologize. But I wanted to talk about, I've been, I usually try to be polite and not offend anyone. I try to speak the truth without saying unnecessary things out of just negativity or hatred or anything like that. I try to keep it positive. But with that being said, and I know you guys have seen this on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. I've only seen it in America. Maybe you guys can tell me if you've had some of this going on in your countries. But where whites are by the thousand groveling and apologizing to Black Lives Matter protesters, and I'm just horrified, disgusted, blown away, embarrassed, and really mind blown. Hey guys, hey Victor. So Joel says, I'll never take a knee. You know what? To get me to even look like there was any semblance of kneeling, they would first need to cut my legs off at the knees. There's no way in hell that I would be doing this. I'm actually looking at a story right now. It says, it's a cult. Thousands of whites grovel in front of blacks begging for forgiveness. And, it has the photos. And, it says, I can't breathe. George Floyd protesters have been marching. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I'm just horrified for the future. And we want to know why there's no help for South Africa. These people on their knees are why. They are why. And, if that were me, I would be probably the only person standing up in a sea full of people kneeling and groveling, giving them 1,000 reasons that they should be kneeling and thanking me. So that's my message is, I'm not sorry, and you're welcome. You're welcome that my ancestors created everything useful in the world today and gave you the right that you have to protest and everything else that you're doing, created civil society as we know it, and law and order and everything else useful in the world including internet, cell phones, running water, electricity, and the list goes on and on and on. So, what exactly are they being thanked for? Does anybody have a clue? No, look, guys, and I actually have a shirt. I found this shirt because I'm supposed to go on with Jason from No White Guilt, but it says not sorry. And I got this shirt to go on his channel because I'm not sorry. I'm sorry that people are so stupid, and I'm sorry that you can do nothing more than destroy and cause chaos. But I'm thankful that at least we can build it back. And you know what? This is something that people outside, my ancestors didn't own slaves either. And if you really want to talk about slaves, I said this the other night, the Irish were enslaved and treated horrifically, okay? But we don't see, and I'm Irish, okay? I'm part Irish. We don't see Irish people destroying cities and demanding reparations and all of that today. And less than 1% of whites owned slaves, okay? Newsflash, blacks still own slaves in Africa today. Their own people. So I don't want to hear about all of that. I wasn't alive. I never owned a slave. I don't know anyone who's ever owned one. And I don't know anyone who knows anyone who's ever been a slave. So it's all just ridiculous. I really feel like I'm stuck at a Mad Hatter tea party and I drank the wrong freaking bottle and I can't wake up. It's like every day things get crazier and crazier. And I know it's not only me that thinks this. No working class people ever owned slaves. Pierce Taylor says that. And another thing I want to talk about, guys, I'm so sick and tired of the abuse that I get on BitChute. So, I mean, it's horrible. Like, I don't even interact there with people or hardly ever comment back on my videos because I hate to go and see the negativity. You know, I posted the interview that I did with Jason, which I thought was very good. And I went and I read some of the comments today, and some asshole says something about she's weird. She believes in the Holocaust or something like that. And I cussed him out first, but you know what? For anyone who has anything to say, you don't have a clue what I believe. And I'm mainly speaking to people on BitChute because I'm gonna post this video to BitChute. You don't have a clue what I believe because I don't openly say it. I keep my opinions for the most part and my personal beliefs to myself, because if they can't help, they're not useful. So it doesn't matter. And there are those people, like the ones I'm speaking of on BitChute, all they want to do is sit around and complain and blame everything on the Jews and complain about how that's how South Africa got to where it is today and everybody else in the world and yada, yada, yada. And listen, whether it's true or not, right now in this moment, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. When are you going to stop complaining and do something? Anything except complain. Because that's not useful either. And something else that is a fact, I don't really care who it is. If they can help the situation in South Africa, America, all of the crazy, insane rhetoric and the abuse and the making the victims seem to be the perpetrators, I don't care who they are. If they can help, I'm going to accept their help. I don't care whether they live in America, in Israel, or I don't care. If they can help, I'm going to accept their help. Because at this point, especially for South Africa, we can't really pick and choose who we want to help if they can be of help and are useful. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, if that doesn't make sense. But, one problem with people seeing the issues in South Africa, in the world, is that stupid people or naive people view the issues in South Africa as white issues, when the truth is the majority of people that suffer in South Africa are black, because the majority population is black. Who do they suffer at the hands of? Other blacks and the ruling party, the ANC, okay? But if people could see that these are not white issues, these are issues affecting all people there, it would gain a lot more support. I spoke with Unati Kwaza today, and she is a black South African lady who speaks out against farm murders, the ANC, and a lot of other things. And, this is really needed to have the world see faces that are not white speaking about these issues and telling the truth. This is so needed, because it's going to take more than just white people to make a difference. And I know some people won't like that, but that's a fact. That is a fact. And it doesn't mean that we all have to agree on everything. It means that we find a common ground with people who have rational thought process, who have empathy, and who are willing to stand up and tell the truth, regardless of race. And, that is just how I feel. And for all the assholes on BitChute who are sitting behind the scenes, talking about people they don't know, making judgments about people they have no idea what they believe, I challenge you to do something useful. Do something that matters. Instead of complaining or assuming that you know everything, why don't you get off your ass and start trying to raise money for your people? Start trying to write letters to your government for your people, instead of just commenting and complaining on other people's videos. It's just a thought. So, if anyone has any thoughts on this, please let me know. I'm furious with this. I'm ready to delete my BitChute account, because it's just ridiculous, the abuse that I get there. But back to the have destroyed entire cities, leveled them where they look like war zones, destroyed hundreds upon hundreds of businesses, have in, I believe, Portland, or is it Minnesota, they've taken over an entire city block where a police department used to be. They've occupied City Hall, demanding that the police be defunded and completely dismantled. Oh, that's smart. That's a brilliant idea. So that the elderly and the law-abiding citizens of these cities can be victimized even more by people like this taking over, government buildings and calling for the police to be completely disbanded. Are you fucking insane? It's like, a lot of these people have college educations, and it's like the more education they get, the more delusional and unrealistic they are. It's mind-boggling, honestly. But also, so the police in America are pissed, right? They feel abandoned by the government officials, the mayors, even police chiefs in certain instances. They are being demonized and killed. And police officers don't get up in the morning with a plan to go out and victimize black people. They don't. There are bad people of every race, of every profession. The majority of police officers are good people that get up in the morning and go and do their job to support their family and keep their neighborhoods safe. And for these men and women to be made out, especially by the media, to be the bad guys is disgusting and disgraceful, because they make these guys out to be the bad guys, and then the saints are the criminals who have gotten killed by the police, yet the number of them killed each year is so small, we know every one of their names. I mean, come on. I feel like I'm living in South Africa, really. It's like no rational thought process. People just say things out of their mouth that there's no data or statistics to back up. Actually, quite the opposite. The Department of Justice statistics says the complete opposite of what the mainstream media says. Oh, the video of Unathi. So someone says it was a good video. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of speaking with her a little more in depth. And I was really impressed because the things that she says, she doesn't just say them, for attention. She has a great amount of empathy for what's happening, and the fact that not many other people do. And she's a very intelligent, articulate, and just a good lady. And we need people like this as our allies, We need people willing to speak the truth and who actually give a shit about other people, And people like that definitely will get my respect before these people kneeling and groveling to these terrorists destroying our cities and terrorizing people. Anarchy shall rule. You're right, but I never saw this coming in America, guys. I mean, I saw it coming, but not right now, I saw it coming, for sure. I've seen it for a long time. But I didn't see, I guess, it being hailed as something heroic, by the media and even public officials. It's disgusting. I'll have to look him up, Pierce. Vince James. I've heard that name, but I'm not positive. But I will definitely look him up. Right. So, and this is something that I told Unathi today, Roger, is that I admired her for being willing to stand up and speak the truth, because doing the right thing is always the hardest thing. You typically, 99% of the time, you stand alone. You are attacked, abused, just there are attempts to destroy your life, and it's not easy, and I know it's not easy from there. So I think what she's doing is very admirable, and it takes a lot of integrity to push through the attacks and abuse and threats, especially from where she's standing. Legacy, that's very kind of you, and it makes me very happy to see people being respectful and supportive, because there's so many people who just, they don't care, they don't get it. They don't realize that in order to be effective and make change, that you can't have everything your way, and you have to work with people that are willing to help and that care. You have to. Bye, Pete. I'm not sure what that means, guys. Reich, are you still here? Oh, and Roger, another thing is today is that's what I told Unate, is that she had no idea how powerful her voice is and how important it is, and that if we can get her voice out there and she can be heard by the right people, how many lives that she can change. And I mean, this is so true, and we need this on our side. We need more faces other than white faces speaking the truth against the ANC about the murders, about whites not being able to get employment, about everything, and she speaks of all of it, So, and that's not originally what I meant to start off speaking about, but you brought it up, and I think it's really important. And so, have you guys heard of this kneeling, groveling happening in your own countries? Not only South Africa, but maybe Canada, which is so liberal and crazy too. This is the Daily Caller on this story, and it says that these people just recited all of this stuff and raised their hands like this to these protesters as if they were some kind of zombies. So I guess Mike's on LMS Tactical. I wonder what he's saying. I knew this was coming, but I thought this would happen. Yeah, I mean, maybe not 20 years. I didn't think 20 years, but like I said, I didn't think it was going to happen right now. And the reaction to it is mind-boggling. I mean, the United States of America has allowed Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and some other groups to hijack a couple of city blocks, and they've done nothing. Nothing. They're terrorizing people in that community. They've taken over a police station, city hall, a bunch of other shit, and we just let them? Why haven't we sent in the National Guard? What is going on? Yes, Derek, what you really need is people like her in your parliament. And since she did not tell me not to say this, she is involved in a party. She did mention to me that during election time that they did not have the money that they needed to, campaign and get their message out. They didn't gain a lot of support. And this is something that I see to be valuable, because if they can get enough attention and raise funds, they can make a huge difference. And you're right, these are the kind of people that you need in Parliament, people above reproach who will speak the truth, But with the ANC there, there will be no change, They are rooted so deeply, the intimidation, the corruption, the murder, if you don't do what they want you to do, or if you speak against them, is so bad. And I know you guys know this, that anyone that comes into a position of power with the intention of doing the right thing, they're quickly disposed of, either by being forced out of their positions, being framed, or being murdered. And I believe that no change will come until the ANC has been brought to their knees. And I work on this every day. I fight for this every single day. You're sincere, you'll not bow. Let me tell you something. I would rather die 1,000 deaths than ever even lower my eyes to these people. I would never. I would tell them all the reasons that they needed to be thanking me, but I would never apologize, do anything that even resembled kneeling, or anything of that nature. I would rather die and be burned at the stake. Never will it happen. You're welcome. That's my message to them. Not I'm sorry, it's you're welcome. Right? Your ancestors didn't own slaves. Riot. Exactly. It's not a protest. It's a riot. Your ancestors didn't own slaves. Neither did mine. And you know what? It doesn't matter right now. So we acknowledge it was wrong to own slaves. The people that owned slaves, it was wrong. America has done everything, including South Africa as well, has done everything to right wrongs done by people who are long dead, who we never knew, and were not alive when these wrongs were done. So, Jason made a point when I went on Patriotic Weekly Review. He said that, if none of it matters about who was there first in South Africa, and it kind of relates to the same thing going on in America. It wouldn't exist if white people hadn't have come here. Period. That's it. So if the first people to step foot on land own it, then we own the moon and the entire solar system, because we have sent our probes out into space. They've landed on Mars, on a lot of other places. So that means white people own the moon, all the planets, the solar system, and that's it. And it's the same thing with all of this apologizing for what I don't know. How long are people supposed to be crucified for things they didn't do? It's never ending. It will never end. It's a perpetual victim stance that stupid white people like the ones groveling continue to keep going with their ignorance and stupidity. And no one can ever move forward or thrive if they are the perpetual victim of some nameless, faceless, made up shit that they call institutional racism. Show me something that is racist, that is put into place by any of these institutions. Show me police stations that have policies in place that are racist. Show me colleges that have policies in place that promote racism. So, or companies. There's no such thing as institutional racism. I don't believe in this day and age, not in America. In South Africa, absolutely. Not in America, okay? It's against the law. I mean, they can't put policies like that in place. And I don't know of one that exists. If someone does, please enlighten me. Because I'm so sick of hearing all of these bullshit leftist made up terms thrown around, but there's nothing to back it up. Nothing. Yeah, so 75, or is that seven sons? I'm sorry, I thought it said 75. Seven Sons said, I tried explaining to a woman today that accepting terms like white privilege and systematic racism, kneeling, apologizing, etc., is an indictment of her children. This is absolutely 100% true. And, I guess the reason all of these things bother me so much is because this is what I'm leaving my children. And I try my best to teach them the truth without hatred or teaching them to be hateful, I try my best to teach them in a way where they do recognize the differences and they appreciate, their own background, ancestry, heritage, culture, but that they do that in a way where they just want to be free to be who they are and allow other people the freedom to be who they are. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. But when you have these people out here kneeling and apologizing and using these bullshit made-up words, white privilege, for example, that's a bullshit leftist made-up term used to demonize white people. I don't see it as privilege for blacks to be given points on the SATs, based on skin color, okay? For points to be taken away from Asians, whites, based on skin color, and based on, there are people that maybe they've worked their whole lives to get into a school, right? A white person. And they have put in so much work, have a 4.0 grade average, aced the SATs, and guess what? They most likely are not going to get into that school. A minority who scored lower, didn't work as hard, whatever, is going to get in before them based on skin color. That is a privilege. That's not a privilege for me. That's a minority privilege. And I could go on and on about other things, that are privilege here in America for minorities and South Africa. I mean, not the majority in South Africa, minority here. But you have all these opportunities handed to you. And why is it never enough? Why? Because the old saying, it may sound cliche, you give a man a fish and he comes back every day wanting a fish. You teach a man how to fish and he learns how to feed himself, right? We are just enabling dependency upon these policies, giving a privilege to people who maybe didn't work as hard or maybe didn't care as much or whatever, and it's not right. People should get jobs and get into schools based on merit, not skin color. Yeah, exactly. Look how much, their kindness, especially in South Africa, is appreciated. How are they repaid with their kindness? They're murdered. They are slaughtered. Often with the help of workers who have worked for their families for generations or, a decade. And for treating them like family, they are betrayed and slaughtered. And because our ancestors created modern architecture, medicine, running water, electricity, civilization, kingdoms, everything that the world runs on today, we are repaid with total destruction, disrespect, and insane demands that do harm to everyone. It's not good for anyone to defund or dismantle the police. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, I happen to live in Texas where I can defend myself. In places like Minnesota, New Jersey, Portland, they don't have the same stand your ground laws where they have the right to defend themselves the way that we do. They need the police. I meant now, I wrote not. So, Noslin. So, yes, everything going on is redialing. A lot of people must have never lived in a diverse area, but now see what it will become. I'm one of those people. I grew up in a very small town where, there were very few people other than whites. And it wasn't because anybody hated other races. It was just because that's how it was. It's very rural, very small. Even to this day, when I go into town and stuff, there are people of all races, but in my own little small town, I very rarely ever see people of other races. But when I do, the people that live in these rural communities, they do the same work that, white people do. They have grown up with the same morals and values, and, they're more the same than different here. I know it's not, Chicago and places like that are a completely different place, but when you have a small rural Texas community, farming, ranching, the people are different. They are kind. It doesn't really matter race for the most part. People are willing to help others, and they are kind. And yeah, it's horrifying and devastating to know that this is coming to even the rural areas if it's not stopped. And I guess, like I said, that's what I'm horrified by, is it's being allowed. It's not being stopped. It's crazy. It's insane. But also, a lot of these public officials who are allowing this crap to continue, they don't live in the real world. And they don't ever suffer the consequences of their stupid policies or their failure to protect, part of their community. They usually have, and this is ironic, but they usually have police protection around the clock. They live in gated communities where, they don't have to live out on the street where these things are happening. They have an agenda. It's all bullshit. Hey, WCAM Studios. Thank you. I appreciate you coming in to say hello. While you're here, let me ask you a question, because you live in California. I was just explaining that I'm from a small rural Texas town. It's just a complete different world. I don't know how far you are from LA or places like that, but how bad is it? I've seen that in, I believe, Portland, or is it Minnesota? They've literally taken over a couple of city blocks where there was like the main police station. They took over City Hall, and no one is doing anything. No one's stopping it. They're demanding the abolishment of the police. That is the most irrational thing I've ever heard. How does someone agree to that demand? But why are these public officials, these mayors and things like that, not calling in the National Guard and stopping this? Because regular people that just want to get on with their lives, work, and take care of their families are suffering in these communities where these people are allowed to do these things. Yes, they are trying to destroy America, the same as they did South Africa. You're right. It's being done in a bit different way because we are not, well, it's my opinion that whites are already a minority in America. Based on my knowledge of the census, and that many people that are not white are counted as white in the census. When I say many, I mean millions upon millions upon millions. Hispanics, mixed race people, Jewish people are all thrown in there. So we don't know the true number of whites in America. The census is so grossly inaccurate. So WCAM Studios from California, he has a great channel, by the way, guys. You should go and check it out. So he says, we had some small scuffles in a rural town nearby, but the militia came out. Woohoo. LA is a different story. I have footage coming from LA, Humvees and rigs capable hauling teams of police. Wow. Yeah, they didn't take over anything. The authorities are complicit, exactly. They have allowed this. I think the media is trying to scare people with what's happening in Seattle. This is designed to scare people. I do agree with you. And, there's a speech by Julian Assange from some years ago where he stood up and he was giving a speech in front of people, and he asked how many people, journalists, are responsible, how many deaths they're responsible for by their lies and their propaganda and the wars and just everything that they incite. They literally have blood on their hands with the lies that they tell and the propaganda that they put out there. And it's, he's been right all along, and a lot of people didn't listen to this. Right, so I heard that some of these Antifa jerk-offs plan to go to Sturgis for the bike rally. And I'm actually praying that they do. I am hoping that they do, and I'm hoping like hell that it's all on video. I don't think they realize that a lot of these bikers are ex-military men, police officers, and they're not going to be people bowing down, apologizing. They're going to kick their ass. And I'm looking forward to it. So WCAM Studio says, I broke into a fenced-off skate park today. Not buying the lockdown. Laugh out loud. Yeah. So, someone says, just turn off the internet around the area. It'll be over when they can't get their selfies uploaded. That's the greatest comment I've seen all night. You're thinking worst case. Come to me. Yeah, I agree. I do not fear these protesters. As I said, I would rather die 1,000 deaths than to dishonor myself, my ancestors, my family, my people by bowing down and apologizing for something that I don't even believe exists. And for mainstreaming delusion. When did people become so stupid? When did this delusion become acceptable? I once got kicked off of Twitter for saying that abortion was murder. No, I mean, completely, suspended, banned, whatever you call it. I've been banned 25 times, but whatever. When did that become so controversial? When did it become controversial to say, don't riot, don't loot, it's not useful. It doesn't matter what happens, you have no right to do this. not even Fox News will really go against it. I mean, we've got Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and a few, Laura Ingraham, who have called a spade, but they're just saying, oh, for the most part, it's peaceful protest. Bullshit. Peaceful protest my ass. Yeah, I'm in, definitely. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. July sounds good. Okay, so I'll be here, and you have my email, I believe. If you just reach out, I'll give you my number. You're in America, so I'll just give you my phone number. But yeah, anytime. I would love to. Thank you for coming in. And yeah, guys, go check out his channel, WCAM Studios. He is from California, and he makes a lot of videos exposing a lot of these things that we're talking about. But he's got a very interesting and cool sense of humor, you know. So I enjoy watching his videos. So go and check out his channel, please. Take care. Right, so Jaco Vandermeer says, in South Africa, our protests are riots, extremely violent and life-threatening. So what we're experiencing here is nothing compared to the riots in South Africa. But you also have to realize that where the people doing the rioting, killing in South Africa are the 90% majority, they're only 13% of the population here. So imagine if it was the 90% majority here. You know, I believe we would be looking at much the same thing. What's most ironic is the first thing they did was build a wall and set up border patrol. Did they chant, build that wall while doing it? That's funny, because you're absolutely right. They've set up these city blocks that these assholes have taken over. They set up checkpoints where they're actually like patting people down before they come in, and they have like guards guarding the area. So that's absolutely right. The first thing they did was set up a border. Oh, I like you. You know what, Joel? I used to be a football fanatic, obsessed. I could tell you everything about every team, what was going on, every player. I paid like $250 extra a year to have, you know, the full NFL package where I could watch the Green Bay games and all of this stuff. And I canceled everything. I haven't watched a game since all of the protesting and things like that. You know, do it on your own time. And if you hate this country, go to any other country and make the money that you make here, being an athlete. You know, so to me, I don't want to hear it. You know, you are the 1% privileged people. I don't care what color you are. As an athlete, you make a ton of money. You are very privileged, and most of them live in a fantasy land. They don't even live in reality. They just cite whatever is popular at the time. They are not heroes. They are not role models for the black youth, Dr. Thomas Sowell is a role model. He is a Korean War veteran. He is a black man. He is one of the most brilliant economists in the world. Unfortunately, kids in America, black youth, for the most part, Chicago, Minnesota, Baltimore, places like that, they are not raised to look at people like Dr. Thomas Sowell as role models. They are raised to worship rappers and athletes and thug culture. And it does a great disservice to them because it takes away their potential. And instead of growing up to want to be doctors, lawyers, and things like that, they want to be thugs and gang members. And it's really sad because it didn't used to be like this, in the 50s, the 60s. Which time? So Seven Sun says, conservative Texas chick, how did the South Africa riots get kicked off? Which time? Which riots? There are riots every day in South Africa. Every single day. I don't know about during this COVID-19 lockup, but it is insane. I mean, they could riot over things not being delivered, and then the things not being delivered are because they are setting the trucks on fire and attacking the truck drivers or whatever the reason may be. We need to move them all here. Who? I'm in. I work on this every single day. I have assisted in filing court cases all over the world. I would like to lobby the government to put a clause in our asylum laws and how people apply for asylum. We cannot grant refugee status to, white South Africans. That doesn't work, right? We would have to grant refugee status to all South Africans. So what would happen then? So I had an idea that under extenuating circumstances, only the most dire circumstances, that we should lobby the government to add a clause into the asylum requirements where only under the worst circumstances people could apply for asylum as a group, not as an individual. Because as they are now, there is no loophole, and I've spoken to attorneys, firms, many, to try to find loopholes. Right now, if you apply for asylum, you must prove as an individual that your life directly will be you'll be under threat of death or physical harm if you are sent back. And you have to show proof. You have a hearing. That being said, there are many people who do not wish to leave, who shouldn't have to leave, and there has to be a solution for those people too. And I can't leave those people behind and only focus on the people who wish to leave. And as a Texan, I understand this well because, some of these people have been on this land, on their farms for hundreds of years. It's been passed down through their families, such as farmers in the Transvaal. They will never leave their land, and they shouldn't have to. Their ancestors' blood, sweat, and tears are in that land. they've given up everything, several times for the sake of peace. And this time, there seems to be only one solution. And they all know what I mean. Good morning, Ben. Oh, that's great. Your daughter's doing a homeschool. I've seen what they teach children in government-ran schools there. It's horrifying. Oh, I'm sorry, Seven Sons. You meant the riots kicking off over the Floyd death, but I guess it's worse than I'm aware. You know what? The government called for Black Lives Matter marches and protests in South Africa. The EFF, I'm not sure about the ANC. They called on people to do this. If you can believe that. It's complete insanity. And in my opinion, it's just any excuse to destroy everything that white people built and created there. Any excuse. Obama could not have done what? KFC is closed. I can't even. Well, the USA hasn't let in as many people as Germany. And I believe that Germany is about to do a turnaround as Merkel is defeated. So let's pray for that. Farmers are very valuable. Very. Without the farmers, 70% of Africa would starve. Yeah, they banned tobacco. Started cannabis smoking is legal. This is insane. Can't see the logic. I can't either. Right. So the person who made the call to ban cigarettes is involved in illegal tobacco sales and smuggling. Go figure. Windhammer, yeah, you're right. But I don't know. It just goes back to the perpetual victim status, and nothing is going to change if people keep playing into that, and I refuse. I don't know about the black death rate from COVID in South Africa. I don't even know the black death rate in New York because I have not been watching any television. So that's a question for someone in South Africa. Does anyone know the death rate for black South Africans for COVID-19? Civilization is considered white supremacy. Yeah, and that's probably right, but without it, I mean, people would rather live in a freaking mud hut and have no running water, no civil society as we know it, no thank you. I mean, I believe in small government. They should have as small a hand in things as they possibly can. But I also believe in law and order, and that a government's very first job is to protect its people. If they're not doing that, then they're failing. Electricity is considered to be a white privilege in South Africa. Yes, I know this. That's the ANC's fault. It has nothing to do with the made-up leftist bullshit term, white privilege. And white privilege, I'm sure, is for sale very cheap in South Africa, if anybody wants any. Hey, Cobus. They want the Zol Queen to be the next president? Go figure. Oh, Timothy, I completely agree with you. The 1969 Hong Kong flu killed more than COVID-19, and in some years since then has killed 20,000 Americans. 1969 was the year of the huge Woodstock rock concert. No social distancing. Right. So swine flu killed a ton more people than COVID-19, and a bunch of other things I could name. We didn't have any of this stuff going on. The survival rate for COVID-19 is like 98 point something percent. I mean, come on. Yes, it is Jurassic World. My kids are asleep, but the TV is still blaring. It's on DVD, so it's playing the music over and over and over again. So my son is 2, and this is his favorite movie. He loves this, and he watches it every night before he goes to bed. So I was saying earlier that I hope it wasn't too loud, but I didn't want to go upstairs and disturb them. I was like, oh well, I'll just deal with it. Jurassic World. Welcome to the Dark Age. Nah, I'm not going to live in the Dark Age, which is why I speak. And there are people in the world who have the intelligence and forethought to prepare for things like this, because history always repeats itself, and there are people all over the world that have been preparing for something like this. My family, for example, we have enough guns and ammo to supply a pretty good sized militia and last for at least 2 years. Just saying. Yeah, white comfort and safety is suspect. And it's not just white comfort, it's comfort for all. It just so happens that my white ancestors and everyone else that is white gave us all of this white comfort. And I don't see a problem with it. And especially if you're enjoying it, would you rather go without all of it? I mean, be my guest. Yeah, I agree about the viruses. The night of Swarog is almost over. This is why the evil ones are working overtime. I do believe they are working overtime. Yes, and like Rooster says, there is a family just like mine, more than one in a lot of places, on every block in America. And we will be just fine. And our home would not be the place to come to commit a crime, try to come in, or anything like that, because if someone came with intent to do harm to my family, they would never leave. Not on 2 feet anyway. And we have this right. Sorry guys, just reading the comments. I guess my friend from Canada, she fell asleep. I've been wanting to speak to her. Promises to use his white privilege and demonstrate his best supreme white self instead of seeking to signal virtue, aim, less lie. Wait, this is a quote. Aimless lie. I get it. If you want nice, get a dog. I hope they don't riot over that. Oh no, they won't riot over that because those people are probably not criminals. They only riot over people who are criminals, and they never riot over black police officers that are killed, or little girls that are sitting at their kitchen table doing their homework who are murdered by gangs in drive-by shootings in black neighborhoods. You'll never see them rioting for these black lives. Seeking virtue aimlessly. Typo. Yeah, I got it after I realized it was a typo. Virtue signaling. It's the go-to tactic of the Democratic Party. And let me make clear that I am not a Republican. I no longer consider myself a Republican. The Republican Party showed me in 2016 that they are one and the same, for the most part, with the Democratic Party. So I am a conservative with conservative values, and I support people who I believe to be genuine and not just out for greed or spite or whatever it may be. Right, nobody riots over the IRS or Federal Reserve. That's because we're all working so that the rioters can riot. Has a communist takeover had such a racial component before? South Africa? Not Republican, yeah. In the end of the day, the same gang, exactly. They should have done what 100 years ago. So, yeah, has a communist takeover had such a racial component before? I'm still stuck on that. Because South Africa, to this day, it's been almost 30 years. And the propaganda against 7% of the population continues. They continue to be demonized and blamed for every problem in South Africa because they're white. They cannot get jobs. Their children cannot get into schools because of the color of their skin. It's very insane. I've been saying for a while, a lot of people have, that for those people who are ignoring it, it's coming for you. And guess what? It's here. In a little bit different way, but it's here. Wasting your vote is real. Yeah, I agree. I will be voting for who I think is going to have the best interest of the American people, who have conservative values, and who want to uphold the Constitution. That is who I will be voting for. I will vote for no one who allowed these riots to continue without action or force, or who I heard make excuses. And I take every single vote seriously. I don't just go down the ballot and vote Republican or whatever. You know, I take it very seriously. I'm building a wall. Trump, for what? The government is still bringing in 1 million immigrants a year. The Orange Free State, or is it Orania? The Orange Free State was when with zero crime, and it was just people who saw at the end of apartheid that, you know, it wasn't going to work, or was before the end of apartheid. So they created their own little town community, and it has remained crime-free pretty much, and seems to be a great place to live, except a plot of land in Orania, I think, is like $2 million. If Trump built a wall, there'd be an unlocked door on it shaped like a taco. That is so funny. But, you know, I do happen to know there is wall going up. You know, I live in Texas, where, you know, a lot of these immigrants come in through our southern border, and there is a wall being built there. I've seen it. How much good it'll do, who knows? And I love tacos, by the way. I'm going to eat a taco before I go to sleep. I make them out of chicken nuggets or whatever I want. You know, Joel, I'm not very happy with a lot of things that Trump is doing. But, you know, at this point, what is our other option? What's the better option? There's not. It's like that's all we have. Yeah, I believe, if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but I believe, like, One little plot of land in Irania is like $2 million. And we're not talking an acre, we're talking a plot. A wall like Trump described, I don't even know what he described. What I can tell you is it's metal and it has slats that go all the way up. And there's only about this much room in between them. So essentially, I mean, when you look at it, it looks like it would be very, very, very difficult to climb. Very, very difficult to cut a hole into or anything like that. But who knows? They always find to get drugs across the border and to smuggle people across the border. Beautiful classical music. That is Jurassic World. It has ended and it is playing over and over again. My children watched it before they went to bed. So there's a hallway going upstairs and it's echoing down. Oh. What happens after 2024? I honestly, I don't know. I'm afraid to speculate. Ballard fencing, is that what it's called? I don't know. I mean, it looks pretty effective, but like I said, they always find a way. So the good thing that has changed, which I was happy for this, for people that come over from China and have babies and, you know, their babies are American citizens or from Mexico or whatever, is I didn't know this until a South African couple reached out to me that had 2 children. One child was a South African citizen. The other child was born in America. And I was like, there you go. You know, you're going to your asylum hearing, your child's an American. The anchor baby law has been changed. So the child now has to be 21 to sponsor the parents. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I was happy that this was done because of the problem with people coming over the border from Mexico. I'm sad because it affects people that need to stay here greatly, that are facing things like people are facing in South Africa. So I don't know. It's all changes that I wanted, but they are affecting people that deserve to come in negatively. From the children's area comes the music. Yeah, I didn't shut the door. I just was leaving them alone. But it seems like it's louder and louder and louder. No, don't say that. 2024 Democrat control. No. We're not going to let that happen. I mean, I'm sure that someone has a plan in place somewhere. I hope. Or I'm moving to Poland. Because if the Democrats regain control of the White House, we are finished. They will abolish the Electoral College, which means that California and New York will decide who's president. They will completely destroy our Constitution and our constitutional rights, and it will be a very sad and devastating time. Anyway, guys, it is 2:36 here now. So it's been a great chat. I'm so happy that you all came on. I need to get together my interview with Hein Marks. I've been so busy and had so much going on that I haven't finished doing what I want to do because I want it to be really great. But I plan on interviewing him. I'm hoping to interview Unati Kwaza. I'm supposed to go on with Jason on No White Guilt again. WCAM Studios just came in, and he was talking about that we needed to do a live stream. So I kind of have a lot on my plate, but I should have some things coming up. But I think that I'm going to stop this here. I appreciate everyone's input. And, sorry, I'm reading the comments. I really appreciate everyone's input and coming in and participating. It makes it a lot easier for me to make videos, because anyone who knows me knows that I really struggle to articulate myself at times. It's all there in my brain, but I struggle to get the words to come out, and it makes it a lot easier for me when I have a dialogue. So I appreciate you guys very much. And for anyone who's not been to my site, I've been working on it very hard. Nice to meet you too. Thank you, Dr. Jet Heller. For anyone who's not been to my website, I'm no web designer, but I've been working my butt off on this. And it has some great information up. It's ANCsanctionedgenocide.com. It's in the description. So if you've not checked it out, please go over and have a look at it. And I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you. I will be back on again soon, and I hope that you guys have a good day in South Africa and a good morning in America. Bye-bye.